unstoppable. Everybody wants it.
Gives it to Mixon.
Oh, how about that?
Toward the end zone. And the touchdown.
To the end zone.
My name is Massive.
Wow. I'm too big.
Do it again.
And he is dropped.
Mag is here.
Let the games begin. It's showtime. Let the games begin. It's showtime.
Welcome to a Saturday doubleheader with big AFC implications. A lot of people thought the Bengals season was over when Joe Burrow went down with a wrist injury, but Jake Browning stepped in, has them in the mix for a wild card spot. And how fitting is this? 2 days before Christmas, Rudolph's on the field. Mason Rudolph starting at quarterback for the Steelers, trying to save their season. Take a look at the AFC playoff picture. The Steelers 1 game back of Cincy and a current playoff spot. The Bengals, one of 5 teams in the AFC who are 8-6. Another is Buffalo, who we will see in LA tonight. Baltimore's the only AFC team who has clinched a playoff berth right now. Much more on the playoff picture throughout the day with Steve Kornacki. Hello, so glad you're with us today. Devin McCourty, Jason Garrett, Chris Sims here in a moment. I am Ahmed Fareed, keeping the seat warm for Maria Taylor.
Yes.
She's on baby watch right now.
Sure is.
About to be a mom for the first time. Although I was thinking about it, 15 weeks dealing with you guys, that's good training to be a mom. That's like her kids here on set.
It's going to be easy when that baby comes. She's ready to go.
Maria, enjoy football like the rest of America here. Hope you can enjoy these 2 games we have for you today. This gives us a little bit of an opportunity because we have a lot of games this weekend to preview. So we'll start with what matters going forward for some of these teams that are in the mix for a playoff spot. And Jason, we'll start with the Buffalo Bills. We'll see them tonight. They're starting to get rolling here a little bit.
They sure are. You know, we've been talking about how Josh Allen puts the city of Buffalo on his back every week. That's the only way they can win the ball game. No more. This is James Cook. They rushed for 266. Last week he had 179. They ran it. They threw it. They took the burden off of Josh Allen. I'll tell you what, they keep that balance. They're going to be hard to beat.
And I don't know if you guys saw it, but the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel, he had a message for his team. He talked about it. I won't say that on there, but he said just forget about it. Just go play. This team needs to build the confidence. They need a win at home against a Dallas Cowboys team, I think, to really believe that they are the best team in the AFC.
And how about Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions? 18-5 since the middle of last year. They're perched to win their first division title in 30 years. Their offense as balanced as anybody in the National Football League. The defense is hanging in there. Credit Dan Campbell and GM Brad Holmes for one of the best turnarounds in the NFL.
And how about this veteran-led Eagles team? They're only back to go win a Super Bowl. This offense and Jalen Hurts has to step up. They've showed up last year by going and making the big plays in the big moments. Last week they had a chance to end this game by going and scoring a touchdown. They didn't do it. I want to see this Eagles offense get going so this team could be back in the Super Bowl.
Got the Giants on Christmas, got them again on week number 18. Then you've got the Ravens and 49ers Christmas night. Chris, maybe a Super Bowl preview here.
Certainly the game of the weekend, right? It's Lamar Jackson, it's Brock Purdy, it's the big bad Ravens, it's the big bad 49ers. Lamar Jackson, hey, come on, he's as hot as any quarterback in the game right now. The effect he has on the Ravens offense, run game, scrambling, buying time, and he can beat you with his right arm as good as any quarterback in football. Then you talk about Brock Purdy. Is there a hotter quarterback in football right now? Probably not. The offense is on fire. The weapons galore. Debo, McCaffrey, Kittle, Ayuk, they're incredible. And then he's running this offense like Joe Montana used to run it for the 49ers. Baker Mayfield, they said the hell with the run game. We're going to play through Baker Mayfield's right arm. And that's what they've been doing lately. He's got weapons. Rasheed White out of the backfield, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. But when you watch the Bucs, they got a big matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are about throwing the ball down the field. Baker's carrying that team. Way to go. Back over to you, Ahmed.
Yeah, they're playing so well right now. Steve, you got more on the NFC playoff picture.
Yeah, take a look at this here. You got the Niners, the Cowboys, the Eagles. They've already clinched. They're fighting for position. Let's take a look at the battle for the final 2 wild card spots in a team that was falling out of the picture altogether until a last-minute comeback Monday night against the Eagles, and that's the Seahawks. And suddenly, the Seahawks, they're not in the bracket yet, but they are knocking on the door. Just put in perspective how much Monday night changed the trajectory of their season. Remember, the Seahawks came into that game finishing up a 4-game stretch that was the toughest in the league. They'd played the Niners twice. They'd played the Cowboys, and there they were going into the fourth quarter down at home against the Eagles. Our PFF model at that point had them at just 10% to win that game. They do get the comeback. Look what that does to their odds of making the playoffs, better than even odds now. What would it take for the Seahawks to get in? Well, basically this. You got 3 games left. You just faced the toughest 4-game stretch. This is a very manageable 3-game stretch by comparison. Win these 3 games, and the Seahawks then would just need either the Rams or the Vikings to lose 1 game. And remember, 2 of the Vikings' final 3 games are against the Detroit Lions.
Thank you, Steve. Peaking at the perfect time. We are getting you set for the first game of our doubleheader. Hey, Steve, look at this.
Look at that, huh?
What are the Steelers' odds?
I don't know if he wants that answer.
Personal request. Yeah, that's true. Good point. Earlier, Catherine Tappan is on the field there, caught up with Cincy head coach Zach Taylor.
Coach, your team is 3-1 since Joe Burrow went down. What has stood out to you most during that time?
We just got great team chemistry. These guys just take it 1 game at a time, and today's another day like that.
How do you think Jake Browning will benefit from having seen the Steelers team just a few weeks ago?
It helps. You know, that was his first game starting, and so there's a lot of things that we can adjust and continue to be better as a team. We expect that today.
You told us last night this AFC North rivalry can get a bit chippy at times. What do you expect tonight?
That's just the way it goes. Late December football, there's a lot on the line, and the players can get pretty emotional, and we got to do a great job reining in our emotions.
Coach, thank you for the time.
Thank you.
So Bengals Steelers game number 1 for us. After that, we do have Bills Chargers exclusively on Peacock. Jack Collinsworth, Tony Dungy, Rodney Harrison out at SoFi to set the scene already. Hello, guys.
Alvin, hello to you. We're about 5 hours from kickoff out here in L.A. We're about to see a team that is catching fire right now. And the Buffalo Bills coming off wins over the Chiefs and the Cowboys. And you look back, more than 5 weeks since they made this change at offensive coordinator to promote Joe Brady. All of a sudden, the Bills, they look real, right?
Yeah, just a commitment to the running the football. And, Coach, how long have we been trying to ask the Buffalo Bills to run the football? But it really opens up the offense. It takes pressure off of Josh Allen, and it avoids him having to take a lot of those big hits, Coach.
No question about it. I'm not a big fan of midseason coaching changes, but this one to Joe Brady has changed the mindset of this team.
Yes.
They believe they can win games being physical. They proved it against Dallas last week. I like the way they're playing right now.
I think they're contenders right under the Baltimore Ravens. I think you have to respect their run game, the quarterback, and their play-action pass.
Remember what Joe Brady did with Joe Burrow at LSU. Now proving he could do that in the NFL as well.
Yes.
We are joined by some flag football stars out here as well. From Alhambra and San Pedro out here in L.A. Some locals, could be some future Olympians by the time the 2028 games roll around. And if you haven't already, you can scan the QR code on your screen. Sign up for Peacock before kickoff of the night game exclusively on Peacock. It's football night in America.
Look at the Grinch.
Holiday doubleheader. You got the Grinch around.
Looks like you, Jack.
It's usually nice around here this time of year, with the fans plenty fattened up for the holidays.
We want them to be fat and sassy and spoiled.
But lately, it's been the storm of all storms.
Disappointment reigns in Pittsburgh, PA.
Now, their fearless leader has had enough.
I will acknowledge things won't continue the way that they are.
So, with a clearer vision, he said, Rudolph, our season is not over, and you're going to lead my team.
I am.
Then how his teammates loved him, and they shouted out with glee, Rudolph, we need you dearly. Come lead us to victory.
It's the 2023 remake of Frosty the Snowman. Won't you guide our Steelers tonight? That's what they're all hoping. Mason Rudolph. Let's see what you can do out there.
They are.
That's right. They're doing a good job up and early there. Mason Rudolph there getting his first start since 2021. His coach, Mike Tomlin, spoke with Catherine just a short time ago.
Coach, Mason Rudolph gets his first start since 2021, although he did have 6 snaps to complete that game last week against the Colts. What do you expect from him today?
I expect him to be himself, and he's always extremely confident in himself and aggressive in play.
A 3-game losing streak is never fun, but what was your message throughout the week to this team?
That we can't bring the baggage of that into competition, man. We can't tire. We got to smile on the face of it. There's going to be ups and downs and ebb and flow. It is in every game, and so managing the baggage component of that is really big.
Coach, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
leave that baggage behind. All right, so what do the Pittsburgh Steelers do here on offense to put Mason Rudolph in the best position to succeed?
Right. It's not a great offense. We know that, right? But there are some weapons to play with, and I think the biggest thing that we'd all like to see from Pittsburgh is when they attack down the field. First game after firing Matt Canada, this was the thing that we all noticed. It was Pat Freiermuth down the middle a number of times versus these split safety defenses. Trubisky hit them. They made some big plays here, as you see. And of course, that worked. It backed off the Bengals defense and then forced them into some man-to-man situations that favored some of these receivers.
And how about this look right here, Simsy? Pickens in the slot, single high safety, press across the board, all that green grass outside. Look for Rudolph. We're trying to exploit that kind of matchup all day long.
And that's what everyone expected. They love to pick it to Pickens, but they didn't get that. And with Trubisky, he was in there. Yes, he did some things well, but I thought he missed opportunities to get the ball down the field, get it to George Pickens. And then you saw Pickens' attitude kind of shift. So I think putting Rudolph in there, he can't turn the ball over,
right,
but he has to go out there and do what he does.
The Bengals let up a ton of big plays on defense. We know that. We don't like that about them. And the one thing I've always liked about Mason Rudolph, he will stand in the pocket and he throws a good deep ball. It certainly can give him a chance today against this Bengals.
Tomlin has described him as a calculated risk taker out there, too. So we'll see if we see that today. Let's turn now to Mike Florio for the first time at Pro Football Talk. Mike, a lot of buzz around Mike Tomlin's future in Pittsburgh. What are you hearing there?
Yeah, guys, a lot of noise on the outside. Inside, it's business as usual for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have no desire whatsoever to make a change at coach, and they have no reason to believe that Tomlin wants to go. They actually like to extend his contract, which runs through the 2024 season. They'd like to get that done before next season begins. He's already involved in roster planning for next year and the year after. So from their perspective, nothing is changing. Now, does that stop another team looking for a coach in a couple of weeks from calling the Steelers and maybe trying to do essentially a trade for Tomlin? That's not impossible. From the team's perspective, they want him back, and they have no reason to think that he wants to leave the place where he's been the head coach since 2007.
Yeah, a lot of those guys who've been around a long time, including T.J. Watt, have enjoyed playing for Mike Tomlin. This is interesting. Let's get the perspective of the guys in L.A. Jack, let's go back to you with more on this.
Yeah, Ahmed, you just heard Florio there. So it's year 17 for Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. He won a ring 15 years ago, but the Steelers, they haven't won a playoff game in nearly 7 years now. So that's where some of the questions come from. How do you view Mike Tomlin's future? You know that organization very well.
Yes, you heard Mike Florio. He knows them. I played there. I coached there. I know how the Rooneys think, okay? They've had 3 coaches in 45 years. They've never fired a coach in that time. They support their coaches. They're going to support Mike Tomlin. Here's what Mr. Rooney would think right now. Who do I want to coach my team next year? Well, I could go out and get somebody. Maybe I could go get somebody who's 51 years old, who's taken 10 teams to the playoffs, who's taken 2 teams to the Super Bowl. He knows my team. He knows my city. Oh, that's who I have already. I think I'll stay with him. That's what's going to happen.
But, Coach, if I'm Mike Tomlin, I'm not sure if I even want to come back. You have an unproven quarterback. You have an offensive line, which you always say, get back to Steeler football. What is Steeler football? Is dominating up front the offensive line. Then you have in your skill positions, you got guys that are young guys that are spoiled brats, and the defense is starting to get a little older. I don't know if I'm Mike Tomlin actually want to come back because there's no future.
Well, I know Mike Tomlin, and he does want to come back, and he wants to come back and fix that and change that and get those spoiled brats together, okay, get his quarterback some experience, and let's go win a championship. That's how he's thinking.
One of the most amazing things, Tomlin still hasn't had a losing season as a head coach. Now, a little bit of work to do. They still got some hope to make the playoffs, but he needs to win 2 out of 3 against the Bengals, the Seahawks, and the Ravens to keep that streak alive. Pretty tough.
Didn't you say 7 years they haven't made the playoffs?
Haven't won a playoff game.
They haven't won a playoff game.
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, I think they got a chance to do it. They got to win today, but that's where it'll start.
Coming from old Pittsburgh still.
Days like this, typically, they're still very sneaky. Plenty more to come. Our holiday doubleheader on football night in America from the West Coast.
If Ironhead Heyward is coming up through the A-gap,
I could bring him down.
It's not who's played the best all year, it's who's playing the best at the end of the year. And once you get yourselves into the playoffs, that's when you give yourselves a chance to win a Super Bowl.
Just got to get to the dance.
That's right.
Join the rest of us on Festivus this year.
That's how it finished. Arsenal will remain top of the table, 1 point above Liverpool. The festive fixtures continue this week. A busy day on Boxing Day. This Tuesday, coverage starts 7 a.m. Eastern on USA. 5 games, including Manchester United hosting third place Aston Villa at 3. I knew Chris would like the lefty.
You got it. Right? I mean, we do everything football here. Right?
Before all of that, we got the nightcap of our NFL doubleheader today. Bills-Chargers from SoFi exclusively on Peacock. If you haven't signed up, you can scan the QR code or go to peacocktv.com/NFL. And as we get you set for that one, I want to tell you a story about Donnie Edwards, a former Pro Bowl linebacker for the Chargers who spent 5 of his 13 NFL seasons in San Diego. The grandson of a Pearl Harbor survivor, Donnie and his wife, Catherine, started the Best Defense Foundation in 2018 to honor veterans by taking them back to the battlefields where they served, including this past June to Normandy, France, with 43 World War II veterans on the 79th anniversary of D-Day, with the Allied forces landing in France, breaching Hitler's Atlantic Wall, and in turn changed the course of the world. That day led to the liberation of Europe and to American troops being treated there as heroes both then and now.
Come on, jog it up here. Let's go. Jog it up here. There we go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Bring it in tight. Come on, bring it in tight.
After I retired, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do.
For those of you who haven't played football, I played 30 years of football, and guess what? It's game time right now. It is game time.
My passion was giving back to those who serve, all of our veterans.
All right, let's go. Flight 9994 to Normandy is ready to board, so come on board.
Thanking them for their service.
Cheers!
Make sure they're taken care of.
Yeah, cheers. We're here. We're in Normandy. First veteran we have coming off is Carl Cameron, U.S. Army.
Here we are now. Fast forward. This is my cause. This is my purpose. Let me tell everybody how great and how important you are and what you did for this country.
Yeah, respect too.
They were just yelling and screaming and wanted to get our autographs. They wanted to talk to us. I'm telling you, it just lifted you up. You felt like you were a hero.
It's a long journey to come across, but it's so important that the veterans get an opportunity to connect with the French people. This is so special. You guys are all showing up year after year after year.
I tell you, we have an incredible team. Half of our volunteers are veterans themselves.
1944.
Some are still active. And everyone takes so much pride and joy to serve and to give back.
Look right over here to your right. That's the Omaha Beach right there. This is right above the cliffs.
Unbelievable.
So happy you're here.
I'm happy to be here also.
Absolutely.
A lot of veterans wanted more time to pay their respects to their brothers.
Let's put it over here. This guy is lonesome.
So when we first got to Normandy, that's what we did.
No, okay. Don't forget you, buddy. Don't forget none of them.
Amazing grace, how sweet.
From time to time, I would think about World War II. We landed in France, and what would it be like for me to return to Europe? When I had an opportunity to do that through the foundation, I was so thankful.
It puts a big smile on my face to allow that connection. It just goes back to what our motto is. It's taking care of the ones who took care of us.
Dad, how great is this? Look around you right now. Look at this.
I think every American should go to Normandy and to see what our men and women did to change the course of history.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you.
Man, what a program. Hats off to Donnie Edwards and the Best Defense Foundation. We'll have much more on those veterans and their connection with the people of France, a part of our Paris Olympics coverage coming up next summer. And during this holiday season, as we look at some of these images from around the world, we thank all of those who have served both here at home and abroad. Much more on Football Night right after this.
This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Hope everyone is enjoying their holiday weekend. We got our tree here in studio. Look at those ornaments.
I'm stealing the Giants one today after the show, just so you know.
Happy Festivus, December 23rd. If you've watched Seinfeld, you know this is the day.
Airing grievances.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Frank Costanza in honor of him. So let's do some of that. Let's air some grievances here. Maybe some teams not doing things you want them to do. And so, Jason, we'll start with you.
Hey, my grievances are with the Atlanta Falcons right now. They have 3 top 10 picks in their skill game. They got that guy, Bijan Robinson. They got Kyle Pitts. They got Drake London. Make these guys tired on Sunday night. Wear them out. Don't take them out of the game. Give them the ball. Make it all go through them. If they do that, I think they give themselves a chance down the stretch.
I like that a lot right there, Jason. No doubt about it. My grievance is the Browns, and I'm talking about, yes, I love what they're doing with Joe Flacco, but let's rein it in a little bit, okay? We're throwing the ball 45 times a game with Joe Flacco.
He's slowing Joe down, man.
We got a Super Bowl defense in Cleveland, so it's okay to punt the ball every now and then, throw the ball away. Joe is a little famous for holding the ball in the pocket, getting strip sack fumbled, throwing the ball down the field too aggressively. That's what I'm saying. Kevin Stefanski, just rein him in for me a little.
Let Joe spit, man. I'm going to Kansas City. It's time. There's no tomorrow. Receivers, catch the ball. Like this Kansas City team, it's not about making the playoffs. It's not about getting a win or two. This team's built to win a Super Bowl. This is what matters. That's the burden when you have the best quarterback in the NFL on your team. You have to go out there and be the top team in the league, and it's now or never. Kansas City, let's go.
Chiefs hosting the Raiders coming up on Christmas. One guy I can think of that has no problem airing his grievances any day of the year. Do you know what I'm thinking of? Know what I'm thinking of?
Oh, I know.
Guy on your screen right now. Mike, let's talk about the Chargers. Their first game now since firing Brandon Staley. What is the latest on their coaching surf?
Well, guys, the key is they also parted ways with GM Tom Telesco. That gives them a clean slate moving forward, and they plan to take full advantage of it. They're going to go wherever this search takes them. If they decide the right thing to do is hire a GM first, they'll do that. If the right thing to do is hire the coach first, they'll do that. Telesco and Staley both reported directly to President of Football Operations John Spanos. If they have to change that around, they'll do whatever it takes to get it right. And they insist they'll spend money if that's what it takes. They're a little sensitive about the idea that they're cheap. They've paid out a lot of money to players over the past few years, and they've got a $275 million practice facility that opens next year. They claim they're ready to spend in order to fix what's broken for the LA Chargers.
All right, so Jason, when you see what they have there, what kind of a coach do you think they need?
You know, I think it starts with alignment. You got to make sure the GM and the head coach are aligned. The best teams in the NFL, there's alignment. They're all on the same page. They believe in the same kinds of things. I think they should hire a veteran NFL head coach, a guy who's built a program before. They've had 3 guys who have come from the coordinator position. Hire a veteran guy who's done it. And the last thing is they have to become a more physical team. So as you're drafting players and building your team, physical on the offensive line, physical on the defensive line, that's what's going to help you feature Herbert more than anything else.
I like a lot what you're saying there, right? I look at it a little bit and just go, hey, they got one of the crown jewels of football right now, and Justin Herbert, right? We're all in awe of his talents. I would be a little bit more of, let's hire an offensive head coach. Let's go all in on that department. All due respect to your guy, Kellen Moore, who I think has done a really good job. I just look at this and go, offensive head coach, let's start pushing the chips in the middle of the pile for Justin Herbert, put pressure on through him, play the game through him, add weapons to the arsenal, and watch out.
I think the biggest thing is a leader of men. And we always talk about a defensive guy, an offensive guy, special teams. When we look at Harbaugh or Bill Belichick, where they got their start, you need a guy who can come in and lead men. This Charger team, now we watched take the field last week, not much effort, didn't believe in what they were doing, and I think that's what they need. They need to find that coach when they sit down, he comes in that meeting, that they want to stand up, and they want to run through a wall for
We know who the boss is.
That's the energy that I think they need.
Yeah. They got a few things to figure out there, about $50 million over the cap, so on and off the field for them. For more, let's go back to SoFi. Jack?
Yeah, Ahmed, I appreciate it. A lot of thoughts. Maybe an offensive guy. They've gone with the first-time head coach. Coach, walk me through this. What should the thought process be for the Chargers making this hire?
Well, it's got to start at the top. It really does. I like what Jason Garrett said, but to me, they need a dominant personality either as the head coach or the GM. Yes, you could get a Bill Belichick, a Mike Tomlin as your head coach, veteran guy. I would recommend going the other way. Get a veteran, polished GM. I'm going to give you a thought, Spanos family. Bill Polian. He's put together 3 Super Bowl franchises. Hire him. Let him hire your head coach.
I would say a coach that can come in and get the locker room straight, somebody that can relate to the younger players, but also somebody that can come in and fix the defense. And you're talking about Bill Polian. I don't know a better coach. Or if it's not Coach Dungy, I like Coach Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh.
What do you think about those two names?
Those are pretty good names.
Yeah, yours
pretty
especially.
Good names.
How about Harbaugh? Do you like that?
I do. I do. But I really think it's got to start at the top, and they've got to get some structure, and they've got to get some consistency and say, this is who we're going to be with for a while. You got a great quarterback. You got a chance to win right now. You got to get this thing going, Rodney.
All right, fellas. So it is December 23rd. So we're going to keep Festivus celebrations rolling here with Feats of Strength. That's what we have. Feats of Strength. We've seen a lot of them. What are your favorites 2023?
Oh, my goodness. You got to look at Micah Parsons versus Lane Johnson. He's 6'3", 240, running over somebody 6'6", 300 pounds. That's a future Hall of Famer, and look what he did to them, Coach.
Yeah, strength is not just size, but it's how you utilize it.
And just terrific effort.
Now, this one I have to take a little exception with as a former DB. Ronnie Stanley. Pick on some big guys. Show your strength against them. Don't pick on a guy 150 pounds lighter than you.
No, that's Kerry Joseph. You got to juke the line. You can't let him
look what he does to him.
He pushes him 10 yards out of bounds. He pushes him
out of the stadium.
Out of the club.
Coach, I talked to him about 3 weeks after that. He was still smiling ear to ear, said, can you believe what I did with that guy?
And for me, I'm looking at Tyler Conklin, and I know the Jets have struggled this year, but what an individual effort this is. Just if you got to tackle a big guy like that, wrap him up, but look at the effort. Guys are pushing him. This is the type of effort the Jets have shown all year, Jack.
That is strength. Now, speaking of the Jets, here's something that I always wanted to do, but never got a chance to. I was a coach for 13 years, and I never got to punish a player. But, Rodney, shouldn't you look at punishing the other team's players and not your guy?
But you got to protect yourself, Coach. I played for 15 years, and there was a lot of coaches I didn't like. And sometimes when you come across the middle, I want to give a nice shot to you. So let me see what happens in this next clip. Uh-oh.
You may not have been able to hit any of your players, Coach, but you did take a hit.
Tony's about 185 pounds. I weigh like 205, and I just had to give him a forearm. Okay. Just a little forearm. Felt like you came across the middle, Coach.
That was a strong push.
Look at Jack.
Yeah, we took Coach off the injury report right around Thursday. We got him activated.
How's your shoulder, Coach?
Right?
I'm probable today.
That's right. Oh, a little shot back. I like to see that. And the Bengals, they have a new man at their quarterback position. You go back before the season, Jake Browning, he had never played an NFL game, but he has made just the perfect introduction after that Joe Burrow injury. And now he's going to have to win in Pittsburgh to keep this magic alive.
This is my moment. This is my moment.
Browning will try to sneak it in. Touchdown!
I'm ready for my legacy. It's only begun. I'm the one.
Browning toward the end zone. T. Higgins. An incredible catch. Unreal.
Go ahead and take your shot.
Browning throws it deep downfield for Chase.
This is my moment.
Good Hands Moments. Presented by Allstate. Football Night in America is brought to you by Applebee's. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Exactly 51 years ago, December 23rd, 1972, the Immaculate Reception.
Wow. Here these guys go. They remember this. They're going to go.
Right here.
I know the play.
Harris caught it out of the air.
Out of the air, didn't touch the ground. You weren't allowed to catch the ball off your own player at that time, right?
No chin strap for Bradshaw.
Hall of Famer Franco Harris.
Franco Harris.
By
the Italian Army, baby.
Legend.
32s all around. The early arrivers, of course, wearing the legendary number 32. Time to get game day ready with Verizon Run the Playlist throughout the season. Verizon is giving you access to playlists from your favorite NFL teams so you can listen to the songs that get the Steelers pumped up, like this one, Renegade. Scan the QR code or head over to Apple Music and search Verizon Run the Playlist.
Little Nero's. Look at that. That's old school right there.
How good is he?
Man.
That's where it's at right there.
That's even better.
Yeah, that's Cam Heyward, son of Craig Ironhead Heyward, the former Pro Bowl fullback who died of brain cancer in 2006.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Recently, Cam did show Peter King how he is honoring his father's legacy.
I want to talk to you guys. Use this for college interviews, job interviews, proms. You know, you could even show up in your date with us.
What was your biggest motivation putting Craig's Closets in all these high schools throughout the city of Pittsburgh?
My dad. You want to just try the jacket on and see if it fits? When my mom brought the idea to me, and she was like, you know, your dad only had one suit throughout high school and college, and he would dress it up in different ways to make it look good. We wanted to find a way to let his memory and legacy extend, and what better way than, you know, giving a suit to a young man to make him feel good. I think sometimes we overlook the simple things in life. Just a kid feeling prepared for the moments in his life. Give a kid a chance, and that's all we're just trying to do. He was always the one who took me to school, and I just remember him always being there. Even when he got sick, he was always there for me.
What do you remember about when he died and how your emotions were?
I was in shock about it. You know, I had lost my best friend. Now I look back on it and I'm more thankful for the moments I did get, but there's so many moments I wish he was here for.
Grief counseling, that's a big deal to you. Why?
I want people to know I'm a product of loss. Everything I do is because I've lost people in my life. You can still keep battling back. You can continue to keep living your life and making people proud of you.
The holidays are actually a super triggering time, so he actually came into us at the holidays, and it just brought a little light.
Good point.
Joshua, he fought for 18 months, and he died in October of 2018. It's a lot of life to grow up without a dad still.
Yeah. Cam played a football game last night, and here he is. He's out on the field with you today.
Just spend time with us, even though we know he's really busy. It means a lot.
I want them to know they got somebody in their corner. I want her to know that she's got somebody in her corner. Just because we're going through something doesn't mean we have to go through it alone.
They were blown away that you would want to spend time with them, just playing and hanging out.
It just feels good to have someone who understands what it's like to not have a dad.
We're members of this community, are leaders in this community. You know, he exhibits what we want to exhibit. I think as an organization, that's something that we aspire to.
My dad had a job to do, inspiring others, being there for a family. And I feel like when he passed away, that was still my responsibility to take up.
Feel professional.
I love it, dude, but you like that size or you want a little bit smaller?
I think maybe a little bit smaller.
Okay. We can find one.
Wow, what a great guy. What an impact he is making on everyone that we just saw right there. And his dad
special guy, special player.
His dad was one of the all-time great guys.
Yeah, he really was.
Spirit.
Yeah.
Legend, iconic. He's got to play well, Cam, tonight for the Steelers team to have a chance against the Cincinnati Bengals team. It's a Steelers defense that's historically been very good, but this year's been a bit up and down.
Yeah, exactly. It hasn't been what we got used to with this Steelers defense. Honestly, they're a little soft. You see right here, defense is about destroying and defeating blockers. Everyone in this picture is getting blocked, and they're not getting off. So what does that lead to? 170 rushing yards against Indy. Another 170 rushing yards against Arizona. Same picture. Sims and Jason Garrett could run through this hole, and they're not great athletes. They're not great athletes. But it leads to man-to-man defense, Jason.
It just does not look like the same defense. They have to play man-to-man to help them stop the run, and that presents a whole lot of other issues because their linebackers and their underneath guys don't cover well and they don't tackle well. Again, Indy exposed it last week. Some rub routes inside. It's been happening way too much all year long. Minshew ate them alive, but this has been a common theme for them for a while.
These guys are all over it. I mean, there's nothing they really do well, right? And man-to-man, don't stop the run. They're not great at zone. I look at it and go, Terrell Austin, defensive coordinator, Mike Tomlin, I think they're doing a phenomenal job covering a lot of holes because I look at the defense and go, what do we expect? Some of these guys are not starting caliber NFL defensive players. They got Minkah Fitzpatrick, they got TJ Watt, they got Highsmith. Cam Heyward's at the end of his career. So they need a total rebuilding of that defense, talent-wise. And, yeah, it's strugglesville for Pittsburgh right now.
Sound a little bit like the Grinch there. Talking
a little
to be expected, though.
I mean, that's the Sims' edge.
The Steelers defense going to try to give this guy some issues here today. Jake Browning's won 3 in a row right now. Mason Rudolph getting his first start in a couple of years. This is going to be good. Now, one of the greatest defensive players in Steelers history, 2-time Super Bowl champ, James Harrison, who was inducted into the team's Hall of Honor in October. Last month, Harrison surprised 2 FedEx employees with tickets to today's game as a thank you for their hard work during the holiday season.
That's cool. Awesome.
Sure, they were a little scared at first.
Right.
That's a heck of a surprise.
He's a scary one.
Here we go, boys. Here we go. Come on, baby.
Let's go.
The trifecta! Unbelievable. That was on the money. He did it again.
Boy, what a treat.
Wow. I don't believe it.
It's time for the pigskin to fly. He's on his way to the promised land. Intercepted.
How sweet it is. Yes.
This is Football Night in America.
Let's go.
Served by Applebee's.
A lot on the line today in Pittsburgh. Bengals versus Steelers. Let's go right to the guys calling today's game. Noah Eagle and former Steelers quarterback Todd Blackledge.
All right, Ahmed, you nailed it. There's a lot on the line. It's an AFC North division rivalry. It's December football, so there means a lot here, playoff implications. And a month ago when these two teams played, it felt like the Steelers put themselves in position. The Bengals were on the outside looking in. Now, 1 month later, they're back on the field, and the roles have reversed in some ways, and they've flipped now down the stretch.
And all I can think of is the words of the great Michael Scott of The Office. Oh, how the turntables have turned. I mean, a month ago, the Steelers left the field 7-4. They had just put up their best offensive numbers of the season. They were coming home for back-to-back winnable, it appeared, home games, but 3-game losing streak. Now they're in their third quarterback, and they are fighting for their playoff lives. Meanwhile, the Bengals left that field 5-6. Jake Browning, their backup quarterback, filling in for star Joe Burrow, was okay, but not great. But the last 3 weeks, he has been absolutely lights out. This team is full of confidence. Their defense is opportunistic, and a 3-game winning streak has them right in the playoff hunt.
This is a division that's filled with edge rushers, and it feels like for both teams to be successful today, those edge rushers have to play well.
Well, we have 3 elite guys.
Yeah.
I mean, TJ Watt is a future Hall of Famer for the Steelers. Alex Highsmith on the other side is coming into his own. And then Trey Hendrickson for the Bengals, 15 sacks on the season so far. They are all 3 handfuls, and you have to have a plan to deal with them.
Major implications in this game. We're pumped to be here at Acrisure. The energy in this stadium is legit, Ahmed. We can already feel it.
All right, thank you, guys. Time now for the DraftKings Sportsbook 3-play. Matthew Berry's been crushing these all year. Hello, Matthew.
Hey, Ahmed. Hey, how are you? Thanks. Good to see you. Happy holidays, everyone. Happy Festivus. I just want to say right now, my 3-play today includes bets from both games, not only Steelers-Bengals, but obviously Chargers and Bills coming up later. But we start with the Bengals. You heard the guys talk about Jamar Chase not going to be in this game. Well, him being out opens up a 27% target share. And I expect much of the work to go to last week's hero, T. Higgins. Steelers have allowed at least 60 yards to wide receiver in every game this year but one. So give me the over on T. Higgins, 57.5 yards. Now, other side of the ball. No team in the NFL gives up more receptions to opposing tight ends than the Cincinnati Bengals. So Pat Freiermuth, who had 9 receptions the last time he faced Cincy, should get over 2.5 pretty easily. And now we go to the night game. Stephon Diggs hasn't been himself lately. I'm expecting a big game from Stephon Diggs because, let's face it, I'm playing against him in fantasy semifinals today. You know he's going to go off. I have an alt line, 50 receiving yards for Stephon Diggs. He's been too overdue. Oh, by the way, worth noting, Chargers, 5th most receiving yards allowed to opposing wide receivers. That's my 3-play. Freiermuth over, Higgins over, and then Diggs over on an alt line in the night game. Ahmed.
Got it, Matthew. Thank you. We're all counting on you, for sure. Going to be a preview of these big games. Here are the clinching scenarios this weekend for some teams. Lions can clinch their first division title in 30 years with a win at Minnesota. Chiefs clinch their 8th straight AFC West title with a win over the Raiders. You see the Browns can clinch their 2nd playoff berth in the last 21 seasons with a win and some help, taking on a C.J. Stroud-less Houston Texans team.
Texans are beat up. No C.J. Stroud, no Will Anderson on defense right now. Cleveland's defense is a Super Bowl defense. They are awesome at all three levels. It's Case Keenum. It's a backup quarterback. You heard me earlier in the show. I love a lot of what Joe Flacco's doing, but let's watch out. It's 6 turnovers in 3 games. They can play through the defense, punt the ball, Joe. Should be fun to watch on Sunday.
Browns 2-1 with Joe Flacco. Colts and Falcons.
How about Indianapolis? This team has won 5 of their last 6 games. They've been injured at quarterback, at running back. They just continue to find a way. Hats off to Shane Steichen for putting this team in the position that he has. They're playing with a spirit that's going to be hard to beat. And on the flip side, Atlanta, they're looking for answers. Taylor Heineke gets his opportunity. Let's go back to the theme we talked about earlier with those guys.
Right.
Get the ball to Bijan, get it to Pitts, give yourself a chance.
And Tampa and Jacksonville's going the wrong way. This was a team a few weeks ago. We talked about possibly being able to take over the #1 seed last week. Some turnovers, missed field goals. But how about Baker Mayfield? Baker is making it happen. He's finding all of the weapons. It's not just Evans. It's not just Godwin. Rashad White, huge game last week.
Pushing the ball down the
Love
field.
seeing it.
Yeah.
Dallas is one of the best teams in the league all year long, but they had an ugly, ugly day in Buffalo last week. Buffalo ran it right down their throat. They pressured Prescott. Now they go to Miami with a big challenge. How do they stop Tyreek Hill, Tua, and that whole crew? It's going to be not easy for the Cowboys, who play great at home and struggle on the road.
Yeah, Dolphins against teams currently over 500. They're 0-3, scored just 17 points per game against teams who are 500 or worse. They're 10-1, have scored over 35 points per game. Mike McDaniel, the guy on your screen right now, what do you think of that narrative?
I gave them the clearance to tell all members of the media to, with all due respect, F off. With all due respect.
With all due respect.
That makes it better.
That's all you need is all with all due respect.
Solves everything.
How about this one? Ravens 49ers.
Oh, well, how can you not be excited? Right? Late December, the 2 #1 seeds in the AFC, the NFC. The 2 teams that you look at and go, they think they're the biggest, baddest bullies on the field week in and week out, right? I know you got to be excited for that, Devin McCourty. Here's my big thing with the Ravens, all right? Run the ball. Stop justifying Lamar's contract, Todd Monken, their first-round receivers, OBJ's contract. Take a lesson out of the playbook of the 49ers. They have the quarterback in Brock Purdy, who's thrown the ball less than everybody in football, and he has the most explosive offense in football, hitting people down the field. Come on, Lamar and company.
3rd regular season game between teams with the best outright record in each conference in December or later since the 1970 merge. You see in 77 a Super Bowl preview. 2005, Seahawks beat the Colts. Seattle would eventually lose in the Super Bowl to Pittsburgh. All right, so you got 2 good running teams in this one. You got a couple good defenses here, but that 49ers offense is so good. Can beat you so many ways. How do the Ravens slow them down?
Sim said it. They have all of the weapons, but I think the key in this game will be Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen.
Right.
Those guys in the middle. They have the athletic ability to run down plays that go to the perimeter, but they're also guys that can come downhill and hit. So the key for them, their eyes. They can't fall in love with looking at the motions and going every which way.
Shanahan tricks.
Exactly. They have to know where to look and then go make the plays.
The key for me on the other side for San Francisco is rush Lamar. Sometimes when you play against a guy like Lamar, you're afraid of him because he's going to get out. So all of a sudden, you don't come off the ball quite as much. The key to the 49ers on defense, pressure the quarterback. They don't have to cover as long on the back end. If they can make the pocket uncomfortable for Lamar, I think they got a good chance to win this game.
Lamar's effect on a football game goes way beyond the stats, right? And that's where this is going to be interesting. He might get the 49ers defense into a few things that are favorable for them to throw the ball down the field outside the numbers. But I'm really excited for this one because we know these are 2 big physical teams, and it's going to be hard hitting on Monday night.
Both teams trying to stay the 1 seed there. MVP could be determined.
Purdy, Lamar.
Brock Purdy is number 1 right now. Lamar Jackson is number 2, so a lot on the line in that one. Let's go back now to Jags and Bucks because, Steve, that is potentially a huge swing game.
Yeah, a really interesting story here. Besides the Rams themselves on Thursday night, there was no bigger winner coming out of that game than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why? Because, of course, the Bucks in the NFC South being chased by the Saints. The Saints take the loss for the Bucks. It's very simple now in terms of making the playoffs, winning the division. They got 3 games left, starting with the Jags. They just got to win 2 of 3. Any combination here, even if the Saints, if they lose to the Saints, beating the Jags and the Panthers, that's enough. Any 2 of these 3, Bucs win the division, make the playoffs. Now, let's talk about the Jaguars, because that's where things could get interesting. Look, if they beat the Bucs, they snap the losing skid, everything looks good. The probability's high. They got 2 winnable games to close out the season. But if the Jags lose again, they could be in some real trouble. Let's take a look here. This is how the AFC South has looked in terms of the odds from our friends at DraftKings to make the playoffs all year. And you see the losing streak has brought the Jags. Their line is converging with the Colts and with the Texans. All 3 teams right now, 8 and 6. The Jags have all the tiebreakers against these teams. But if the Jags lose this game and either the Colts or the Texans win, then the Colts or the Texans, or maybe both, leapfrog Jacksonville in its standings, and all of a sudden we take the Jags, who we were talking about as a potential 1 seed a few weeks ago, and suddenly they're out of first place in their division, and they're a very big question mark to even make the playoffs.
I mean, what a shocker. We already have the Florida scenarios playing out. Not even election season. It's 2024. Usually we have to wait for. It's early. You get it in 2023. Got some key injuries around the league right now, including a few in the AFC South. With more on that, let's get it to Mike.
Yeah, Chris mentioned C.J. Stroud, the Texans quarterback, out with a concussion. Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence has been cleared. He's traveled with the team to Tampa, and he's on track to play on Sunday against the Buccaneers. But the big one is farther south in Florida. Tyreek Hill, Dolphins receiver, sprained ankle 12 days ago. There's optimism he'll be able to play. The signs are encouraging. It's going to come down to pregame warm-ups, but the belief is he's going to feel good enough to go, and the Dolphins will need him against Dallas.
All right, thank you, Mike. Our game, Bengals and Steelers has everything.
Mike Tomlin, Mike T, getting the troops ready.
You better get them ready, because Zach Taylor got that game.
He doesn't want prisoners. He wants volunteers.
Welcome to the Hyundai Sunday Night Kickoff.
Jake Browning, he has stepped up in place of Joe Burrow as he looks to lead the Bengals back into the playoffs. And third stringer Mason Rudolph making his first start in over 2 years, trying to save the Steelers season. Let's go on the field, presented by Hyundai. And Devin, we're going to start with George Pickens, who faced a lot of questions over a lack of effort last week in Indy.
A lot being talked about with George Pickens. Mike Tomlin has made a career of dealing with talents like this. I look for Pickens to pick it up today, get him the ball early, and get this young guy going so he can be a playmaker.
You speak about getting the ball to a guy. Get the ball to number 5. No Jamar Chase, right? This guy's usually the number 2 receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. But really, in actuality, he's a number 1 talent. That's what he is. He's one of those guys can beat you deep. You can just throw it up. 50-50 balls are not 50-50 balls. They're 70-30 balls.
You used to do that in high school. You used to do that. You used to go get the rock.
Right. I can still play if they let me throw to T. Higgins right now. But he is phenomenal. And you heard Jason Garrett, McCourty talk about earlier. They can't play man-to-man in Pittsburgh.
Hey, Simsy, when you're a backup quarterback, you know it as well as anybody, your best friend is the running back. Hand it to him and throw it to him. Jaylen Warren is the best space player out of the backfield that the Steelers have. If I'm Mason Rudolph, I wear him out. Give it to him, throw it to him. He'll make some plays for you.
Let's go to L.A. now. T.J. Watt leading the league with 16 sacks this season. Tony, what do you think?
Well, he's going to be critical because we've got some great pass catchers on this field, and pressure is going to be the key. T.J. Watt, one of the best outside rushers in the game. Again, I don't know that I would have a tight end blocking him single. Here he's double teamed, still gets there. They're going to need this from T.J. Watt today on that Steeler defense.
For the Bengals, I'm really excited about Trey Hendrickson. He's their best player on defense. What I like about him is he plays the run and pass with the same enthusiasm. 15 sacks, and his job tonight with that young secondary, he has to supply constant pressure for those guys.
A couple of the NFL sack leaders right there we'll see here in just a bit. And you think about Lou Anarumo's defense. They've had added pressure on their shoulders all year, even going back to Burrow's initial calf injury. The offense has been constantly reinventing itself, so defense a bit of a support beam for this team.
Yeah, and Jack, this has not been the same Bengals defense that we're used to seeing. In their Super Bowl year, they were dominant, but there's been some holes, especially in fundamentals, Rodney. Tackling, holding the line of scrimmage hasn't been great this year.
And, Coach, it doesn't get any easier. They lost their best run defender in DJ Reader, and who else is going to step up and do things right, set the edge, and not allow the football to get outside like this?
And that is the reason why Trey Henderson has been so needed, because this is what they do well. They create turnovers, they fly to the football and get after it, Rob.
Yeah, and he's going to have to be the key guy, getting to the quarterback, stripping the quarterback, and getting after him. But I tell you this, guys, I know their defense has been up and down. I'm a big fan of their secondary. They're young guys. They're very talented. It's not a lot of money being spent in that secondary, but these guys are going to be good in the future, Coach.
And you mentioned all the yards they've given up, but when the teams get down around the red zone, the second most takeaways, 5, they've gotten down in the red area, which has really helped.
They're going to be all right.
Defense in a lot of games. So the Bengals, the Steelers, they lead off our holiday doubleheader in the AFC. Then tonight, the Bills, they look to move into playoff position with their 3rd straight win in a game that's exclusively on Peacock. And this week, Michael Smith, he went to Buffalo, sat down with Josh Allen for another edition of Gets It.
Release the beast, Josh Allen.
We see the Robo QB. But what's clear is that emotion is a big part of your game. Your heart is a big part of your game. How would you say you're wired? Just what makes you tick?
What makes me tick? I'm just competitive. We do this thing on the plane. We get our little stipend, and it's 5, a 10, and a 50. And I sit there and I go, heads or tails, Steph. And I let it drop and it spins around. And he won all 3 today, and I'm still furious about it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I could have done to change anything. He's calling it's a coin flip.
Right.
But I'm still ticked off. That makes me super mad. I hate losing. It's the worst thing about this sport, second to injuries.
I want to go back to October. You talked about operating at quote-unquote low positive, calming, clear-minded, a little less emotional. What kind of mental state are you operating at right now?
It's a good therapy session. I've never done therapy, but I don't think it's low positive anymore. I think it's a little bit on the, I wouldn't go as far as psychopath, but I think it's a little bit more emotion.
You talk about getting that killer mindset. Are you reminding yourself of who you are? Hey, like, I'm that dude. I'm him, you know?
I don't think I forget. I just think sometimes it's good to be reminded of that. Just trying to do whatever I can to put myself in the best space of mind every time I step on that field. Obviously, Joe Brady's got us in a good spot right now in terms of what we're calling, how we're calling it, and how we're running it. So sometimes it's hand the ball off to James Cook like it was last week, 20-something times, and let him do his thing.
The Cook has found the kitchen.
He had a game unlike any that any running back has had in your time in Buffalo.
Felt like the kid that didn't do anything in the class project but got an A.
Is that weird for you, or is that something you can get used to?
If you tell me we can do that the next 7 games and win a Super Bowl, I will sign wherever you need me to sign right now. I don't care how we get it done. I just want to get it done.
A pretty calm, confident dude. Why wouldn't he be? That was Gets It with Michael Smith, presented by the Farmer's Dog. Chris.
Well, I mean, if Josh Allen wants to keep winning, right? The one thing they did last week, what we saw against the Dallas Cowboys, was run the football. He alluded to it. James Cook, physical brand of style that we've seen the offense have ever since they fired Ken Dorsey. Joe Brady's done a great job. You see Mitch Morse pulling linemen was the key to the game. Mitch Morse pulls here. Now you're going to see the backside tackle pull, and because Josh Allen can keep the ball around the edge, it keeps the backside defense at home. But James Cook is very good in the run game. He's got great vision, and you're seeing him continue to become more confident, reading the blocks the right way, has the speed to get outside. But when the Buffalo Bills do this with Josh Allen's right arm, they're going to be tough to defend. And even here, a little changeup. Oh, wait, he's on this side, but now we're going to come back out the back door, follow the tackle again here. Physical brand of style of football. They've reined Josh Allen in a little bit, and it's refreshing to see them not just ride his back or on his shoulders all game long, every game, Ahmed.
There is a lot that looks different with this Buffalo Bills offense. Joe Brady has also not just running the ball with James Cook. They have thrown to the running back at a much higher rate than before he was the offensive coordinator.
Ahmed, they sure have. A lot of people around the NFL, they've devalued the running back position. Not me. I love running backs because running backs help quarterbacks. They help offensive linemen. They help the defense. And not only because you can hand it to them like Cindy just showed you, but throw it to them. It's the easiest throwing ball. Just get it out. And now those are hard tackles in space. So Cook was phenomenal against the Cowboys, both as a runner and as a receiver. And it wasn't just that little check down, Dev. It's the corner route out of the backfield. Allen moves to his right, throws a strike. Pretty darn good.
And that's the pressure they put on the defense. When I was game planning, when I was on the Patriots, we would talk about what kind of running back is this? Is it just a guy who's going to catch checkdowns, screens? But with James Cook, he can do everything. The vertical routes is a mismatch. There's no linebacker in the NFL that's going to run with him. He ran the corner route. He does it all. So I think the versatility that Cook brings, and now they're allowing him to show that week in and week out, this Buffalo team's going to be dangerous.
And it takes pressure off the quarterback. He doesn't have to make all the plays. Get it to that guy. Let him make the play.
And the staple in the middle of it all, that offensive line for the Buffalo Bills, they've had the same starting five all season long, so that has been huge for that offense too. It is time now for Barry's Bet, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Matthew.
Thanks, Ahmed. All right, real quickly, let me just remind you of my 3-play from earlier. I like over on the Higgins receptions, over on Higgins over on the yards, Freiermuth over the receptions, Steph Diggs on an alt line over 50. My best bet, however, Tyler Boyd, no Jamar Chase, and that frees up 9 targets per game. Steelers so banged up in the secondary, they allow the 5th most yards to the slot. So give me the over on Tyler Boyd's receiving yards. It opened at 35.5. It's gone up a little bit more. I still like the over. A reminder, don't forget, on DraftKings Sportsbook this season, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every single day. Just download the app. Use promo code SNF when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. When we come back, more of Football Night in America.
We interrupt football night to join a very special press conference from the North Pole.
Santa! Oh my God! Hey, buddy, relax. I know him.
Hey, Santa! The world wants to know, what do you do the night before your big night?
I'm watching football, of course. You see, it starts in the north. Pittsburgh, that is. I love those terrible towels. Not to mention a big man who can do it all.
That's P.J. Watt, all-time sack record.
And just like I did, it's time to turn to Rudolph.
But what about those other guys?
Who they?
Who they? Who they? Who they say gonna beat them Bengals?
Nobody.
So, what's the hot item this season?
Well, everyone seems to want this peacock. That's the only place to see the magic of jolly old Josh.
Laser from Josh Allen.
Will there be snow?
Not this time, but it's Christmas in L.A. too, right?
Yeah, right.
Let's go!
By now, we've seen all the holiday classics.
Another Christmas in the trenches.
Into the end zone.
So bring on some football.
Living the dream, man.
Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good football night.
You know how hard it is to get Santa 2 days before Christmas to do something like that?
I mean, we're on fire today.
We got a booking agent.
We know people.
Special. Yeah, we do.
Although it looks like Santa's everywhere. Pittsburgh as well. You got the Bengals, you got the Steelers. This is what December football is supposed to be, with a playoff spot in the mix here. Bengals have won 3 in a row. Jake Browning comes in. Can he keep this magic going?
Right, I think he can. I mean, really, he looks like a little bit of a lesser version of a Joe Burrow running this offense. And the big thing you see in the formula so far for him is screens and shots. We know they got talent and people that can go down the field. This Colts game, they threw for 126 yards in screen passes. That's great for a quarterback. Joe Mixon off a play action, stretch the field, and then he works underneath. This guy right here, Chase Brown, man, he's got some rockets that can make him
He's a twin. He's a twin.
He is. He's a twin. He's pretty good. And they've been getting the ball in his hands, JG.
I just love the mix by Zach Taylor. It's efficient with the underneath stuff, but when they get chances outside, they take shots. And look at T. Higgins run up on the receiver, adjust to the ball, and Browning is not afraid to throw the deep ball.
And what I love about Browning, he's confident and he knows what the defense is in. He could throw this ball right here to Jamar Chase, but he said, I got T. Higgins one-on-one with Cam Bynum, a safety. I'm throwing it up, giving my guy a chance.
Yeah.
Touchdown. So I love watching this guy because he's not just taking what's easy, he's taking what the read tells him to do and is leading a good football.
I think the other part is we saw the screens, we saw the deep stuff, but he's completing deep in cuts, hard balls to throw for a guy who hasn't played that much. He's standing in, looking down the gun barrel, and making a lot of big-time throws.
He really is. And the other thing the Bengals are showing here, they're more than just Joe Burrow.
Yes, exactly.
There's a reason they've been to 2 AFC championships in a row, a Super Bowl. They're tough, they're gritty, they've been battle-tested, and they're showing us that right now.
So this really goes without saying, but Steve, confirm it for us. A lot at stake in this game tonight.
Yeah, there is. And you've been talking, too, about that journey that the Steelers and the Bengals have been on. Here it is. This is from DraftKings. These are the odds week by week to make the playoffs. And a month ago, of course, when the Steelers beat the Bengals, the Steelers were in great shape, it looked like, to make the playoffs. And the Bengals were basically falling off the board in terms of their probability. Since then, the Bengals have been nothing but winners. The Steelers have done nothing but lose. Now it's the Bengals with a much better chance. Although if you look at this, they're still coming into this game, the Bengals are underdogs to make the playoffs. Now, this is where it gets interesting. That would change if the Bengals get the win. You see their probability would rise to 61%. That would be a little tenuous, though, because, look, they would still close at Kansas City and then with the Browns. 2 very tough games potentially there for them. So the Bengals scenario with a win today is the best path for them is to win out, and they would still need a little bit of help here. Buffalo losing would be probably the most likely. There are some other scenarios, but winning out is a very tall order when you look at this schedule. And if they take a loss, if the Bengals lose, they're all the way down to just 14%. All that progress they made in the last month would be erased. The Steelers, meanwhile, even with a win today, they're in that very low probability. They would need to win out, get a ton of help. We call this the easiest path. That is really stretching the term easy there. And with a loss, they are all but buried, the Steelers, when it comes to the playoffs.
I would not have guessed that the playoff odds would shift that much for the Bengals in this one game here. Time for the home team picks, brought to you by Lowe's. 73% of America on the Cincinnati Bengals. Go out to Jack. Who you guys like?
Yeah, listen, Ahmed, America knows. I'm on the Cincinnati Bengals as well. And there's been a long-standing belief that they have 2 top wide receivers. I think T. Higgins proved that. He needs to continue to prove that. Bengals today. Who do you like,
I like the Steelers. This is the type of game that Mike Tomlin, he gets his team motivated up for. I think the defense is going to show up. They don't have Minkah Fitzpatrick, but I like the Steelers.
I agree with you, Rod. I like the Steelers. I think 2 suspect running defenses, sacks, and interceptions are going to determine it. I think the Steelers come up with
big
something.
plays.
I got to watch the game with you, too. All right. Who you got?
I've been saying it's now or never for the Steelers, I think, every week for the last month, but it really is now or never. 51 years to the day since the Immaculate Reception. That was the day I discovered the NFL, baby. Steelers for me, Matthew Berry.
I hear you, Mike Florio, but you know what I think about how beat up this Steelers defense is? There's a reason Mason Rudolph hasn't started a game in over 2 years. Give me the Bengals. Jake Browning's playing too well, Ahmed.
That is solid reasoning, Chris.
Well, I mean, I think we all keep thinking, oh, Mike Tomlin team, they're about to turn it around. But I've said that to myself 4 weeks in a row, like Mike Florio said. They're not good on defense. They're not good on offense. The Bengals are better. I'm taking the Bengals.
I think a Mike Tomlin team, they're going to turn it around. I'm going to go
You're
with
that
the
guy.
I'm that guy.
Okay.
I'm going to be that guy.
A lot of old school guys up here are set with us, Simsy, but I'm going with the Bengals. They're playing better. They have a better football team. They're going to win.
Embarrassing loss last week for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Tomlin will have this team ready.
Right.
But there are too many holes on the defense. Jake Browning playing too well. I take the Bengals.
Playoffs haven't started yet, but you saw the odds from Steve Kornacki. Really playoff feel for both these teams. They gotta win and win quite a bit here the last 3 weeks. Those were today's home team picks. Brought to you by Lowe's. The first game of our Saturday doubleheader. Noah Eagle, Todd Blackledge, and Catherine Tappan have the call. We'll see you back here at halftime. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy-go-lucky right now with the Christmas, but it's AFC North. Let's go. Hit.
This has been the Hyundai Sunday Night Kickoff. Spanish language audio provided by Telemundo Deportes. Or watch tonight's game in Spanish on Universo.